We are having technical problems today. So I have this set up, and my wife just called in on my iPhone, and so that crashed the YouTube. So, hey. You love technology, but hey, we're still working on it. All right, let's get back here. I hope you're back with us. Let me see if we got a new setup or the same setup or what we got going here. Let's see, constitutional amendments. Let's see who's still here. Anybody here? Is anybody here? Let's see what's going on here. Got to find my feed, as they say. All right, part two. Let me see if I can find my feed. All right, anybody out there? Hello. We are in the law library today, studying constitutional law, and we are talking about the amendments to the Constitution, okay? I'm talking about my new book that I just got. You can see it up here. This is a beauty. This is a beautiful gift for any of your law students in your life, lawyers, this and that. It's a beautiful book. So anyway, so we were talking about the Constitution. Let me see if anybody's back. If anybody's back, give me a thumbs up so I know somebody's out here. One thing I hate doing is talking to myself. Makes me think I'm going crazy. So anyway, just want to make sure we got a live feed. Volume is good. Sound good. Volume's good. Everybody happy out there today? Happy Saturday to you. And I've been wanting to do this because somebody said, you know, I really would like a video on the amendments to the Constitution. Attorney Steve's take on it. What do you think? Hey, how you doing there, Xavier? Xavier and Thomas is in the house. Thank you for joining us. Does sound okay? Give me a thumbs up. Sounds okay? Sound check? If you don't mind. We'll check it out in a second. All right, so, but I'm going to take it from the top here, but I'm going to be quick. The First Amendment, as I mentioned, I think is the most important amendment. It's just it's two sentences basically, or maybe it's even one. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion, there's freedom of religion, or prohibit the free exercise, that's the free exercise of religion, or abridging the freedom of speech, that's your freedom of speech, or the press, there's your freedom of the press, or the right of the people peacefully to assemble. This is your right to associate and assemble. This is why you can see, like, when there's dissent going on, all the people up in Oregon flooding the streets, or LA, whatever, they have the right to assemble, okay? And the one, again, I was saying that I'm not quite sure how you exercise this right, but the right to petition the government for a redress of grievances. So that's the First Amendment. Some people are strict constructionists and they say, well, that's all it means. And some people say, well, you know, it doesn't tell you everything. There's other things that are going to pop up. And I brought with me today, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, notorious RBG Supreme Court Justice. She's here with us today. Hi, Ruth. And she's helping me just get through this. She's going to give me some helpful tips here and there. But that's your First Amendment. Now, I have a question. I'm doing very well, thank you. Ricky, what happens when two freedom of speech rights conflict? Well, this is the stuff of legal battles. And, you know, it's a good question. And, you know, there's a lot of case law. Now, in case you don't know what case law is, so say you have a freedom of speech is conflicting with a freedom of religion issue, however that could play out. There's a conflict, okay? And one party is saying, well, I have constitutional rights. The other party says, I've got constitutional rights. Well, what happens? It ends up going to court. If it works its way up through the court system, let's just say in a case like this, a federal court starts out at the district court level, goes to the appellate court level, and maybe if the losing party can petition the Supreme Court of the United States, they can petition for a writ of certiorari, it's called, to hear the matter. So at some point in the court, the high court as we call it, Ruth, Ruth Bader is on the High Court, and the High Court may hear your case, they may not. Usually only important issues, okay? So, but it's going to get resolved somewhere in the court system. The court's going to make a decision. Parties are going to argue about it. That's going to become the law or the rule, okay? So hang on a second. So I want to try to get through this. And just so you know, I can't give legal advice on the internet. I'm not allowed to do it. That's our ethical rules. So I can talk generally, which is what we're going to do. Okay, so we went through the Second Amendment. What is it? A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms. Keep and bear arms. Now, again, strict constructionists would say you can keep and bear arms. Well, what kind of arms did they have back in the 1770s? A musket. So maybe you're allowed to keep muskets. I don't know. Some people say, no, that means anything. That means anything to protect myself or to, that might help if we need a militia one day. Well, what does that mean? Does it mean you get a tank, grenades? Does it mean you can have a drone with a gun on it? Bump stocks, AKs, what does it mean? So this is what everybody's fighting about when they talk about Second Amendment. And it's literally one sentence, people. This is the Second Amendment. So I think some people freak out sometimes and they go, oh, the Constitution is this big giant. This is the writings of some of the founders, okay? There's some of the founders there. It's the writings of some of the founders. And the Constitution itself is really, maybe it's about 10 pages of this book, okay? So don't go crazy. It's not like crazy. So it's designed to be fairly simple. So that's Amendment number 2. I asked a question, does anybody know what Amendment 3 is? Now this is one, if you want to pull a trivia at your holiday parties, okay? You want to pull a trivia question. Do it to the political person, the smarty, know-it-all political person in your family, and just say, hey, I got a question for you. Do you know what the Third Amendment is? If you know somebody that knows the Third Amendment, they know their stuff, okay? So, with that question, does anybody know the Third Amendment? The Third Amendment. Okay. No soldier shall in time of peace be quartered in any house without the consent of the owner, nor in time of war, but in a manner to be prescribed by law. So what that's saying is, they used to put soldiers in homes because there was wars going on, let's say. They used to say, well, we're going to put a soldier in your house, okay? And you wouldn't have a say on the matter. You'd say, okay, well, we're stuck. We have to put a soldier in our house, maybe feed him, clean him, get him access to the internet. I don't know. Give him haircuts. I don't know. But now the Third Amendment says, no, they can no longer do that. But it does say at the end, but in a manner to be prescribed by law. So that kind of leaves open to me, does that mean maybe it still could happen? Maybe the Congress could say, let's say the United States was invaded, World War III, let's say, God forbid. And they said, you got to put soldiers in your house, because we're fighting, this is how we're fighting our battles now. You say, well, no, you can't. And Congress passes a law. They say, this is but in a manner to be prescribed by law. So I don't know, what does that mean? You know what I mean? But that's the Third Amendment. Please go out and challenge somebody this holiday to see if they know the Third Amendment. And you know it now. Nobody else, very few people know this. If you already heard that and you want to go out and relax and enjoy your day, go. You already got a golden nugget out of this, okay? So that's number 3. Amendment number 4. Let me see if I have a question. Yes, the Virginia Second Amendment case. Right, exactly. Second Amendment, does it apply to knives? It's all these things, yes. Ricky James, got no housing soldiers. Very nicely done. Andrea's popping in. She's got it as well. Well-regulated militia-bodied men with muskets able to defend themselves and their property from harm. Bingo. All right. You guys are on it today. Amendment number 4. This is the amendments to the United States Constitution. These were passed, I don't know what it was, maybe I think it was 20 or 30 years or something like that. Correct me, any of you scholars out there, but it was after the original Constitution was passed. And the original Constitution, as I mentioned in the first part, was It was really separation of government. That's really what it's all about. Breaking up the power so that there's not a king or a monarchy. So it's breaking it up into the legislative branch, judicial branch, executive branch, each being co-equal and like a triangle. So let's go to Amendment 4. Now this is one I also think is one of the most important ones. The right of people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects. Persons, houses, paper, and effects. And for you law, people taking the bar exam and all this, here it is. You're just going to want to lay down that rule, nice and simple. The right of people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects. Now notice it doesn't say computers. It doesn't say you can be secure in your computers or your iPhones or anything. But was that what the framers intended? Was that the spirit of the law? So this is how we go back to strict constructionists. What? Ruth said no. Ruth said no strict constructionists. She said no, no, no. It has to be interpreted. Okay, interpreted. Okay, so what do we have here? Fourth, yes, we're getting there. It's the right of people to be secure in their persons, houses, paper, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures. Now, what's the big key word there? Unreasonable. There's obviously reasonable searches and seizures, but this only prohibits unreasonable searches and seizures. And people will also ask, well, what's a search and seizure? If somebody stops you by the side of the road, is that a search or a seizure? How about if they look in your glove box when a cop pulls you over? Is that a search and a seizure? Shall not be violated, and no warrants shall issue but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized. So this is a beautiful one. This is what protects you, in theory, from governmental intrusion into your life. This is part of what they said, well, this sort of creates a penumbra. Anybody heard the word penumbra of privacy? That people have a certain constitutional right to privacy and to be free from unwarranted, unreasonable searches and seizure. But we know they can tap your phones. We know they can get a warrant to come into your house. They suspect you of a crime. They got to have probable cause to come in and get a warrant from a judge. Judge got to stamp the warrant, then they come in and we're serving the warrant. Okay, so that's what they're talking about. And the warrant has to particularly describe the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized. Now, this is where your criminal defense attorneys get in. They fight about these all day long. You came in looking for something in my basement, and you went around and searched the whole house, okay? And, so this is where criminal constitutional rights come in, okay? What? Yes, Ruth said that's very important so that innocent people are protected from unreasonable searches. I mean, if the government could run around and just unreasonably search your whole house anytime they felt like it, ransack your house, that would be a problem. Thank you, Notorious. All right, so that's the Fourth Amendment. Anything else? Stop and frisk. Yes, I know stop and frisk is a very good question. Ricky may be a law student. That's a very good question. Will come up in law school. Okay, great stuff, you guys. Thank you for chiming in. Fifth Amendment, we're making our way through. I believe, does anybody know how many amendments there are, by the way? Come on, don't look it up. Don't look it up. Just say it if you know it. Not really. Not really. Okay. 27 amendments. So I got to get going here. Okay. I do have a life, and I do want to do something today. Fifth Amendment. No person shall be held to answer for capital or otherwise infamous crime unless on presentment of indictment of a grand jury. So this creates the grand jury indictment process, except in cases arising in land or naval or in the militia, when in actual service in time of war or public danger. So it's kind of like military law stuff there. Nor shall any person be subject for the same offense to be put in jeopardy of life to twice be put in jeopardy of life or limb, nor shall be compelled in any criminal case to be a witness against himself, nor be deprived of life, liberty, or property without the due process of law, nor shall private property be taken for public use without just compensation. Okay, so that's packing a lot of stuff in there, okay? And let me break this down for you. This is probably one of the last biggest, longest ones. So let me break it down. There's a lot of meat in there. There's a lot of meat on the bone here, so to speak. So this one says, creates the grand jury. They can't hold you for a capital offense or infamous crime unless a grand jury says they can take you to that. Okay, so that's the grand jury protection. Except in cases in the military has its own rules. When I said a person cannot be subject to the same offense to be twice put into jeopardy of life or limb, does anybody know what that was called? What that's called when you try to twice put somebody in jeopardy of life or limb? The double jeopardy clause. I hear Alex Trebek right now. Dun, 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 dun. It's the double jeopardy clause. So what that means is O.J. Simpson, for example. They tried O.J. for murder. He was acquitted, so you can't go and then try it again. You can't give it a second shot. You don't get a second bite of the apple, okay? It's called the double jeopardy. Now, where people get confused, for example, is that was a criminal case, but they're able to go back at him in a civil case, okay? So, in which they did, the Goldmans, the son, went after OJ in a civil case, got a judgment. I believe it was like 30-something million. Don't quote me, but so again, that's not double jeopardy. It's trying for the same crime twice, okay? This also says you can't be compelled to be a witness against yourself. Okay, so does anybody know what they say? Taking the fifth. This is what they're talking about, the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution. So if somebody says, they saw you kill somebody and the cops came up to you, ran up to you and said, "What'd you do? What'd you do?" Points a gun at you and says, "You tell me what you did right now." You say, "Officer, I'm taking the Fifth Amendment." Why? You may say something that incriminates yourself. So you can't be forced. In a court of law, you, as a defendant, a criminal defendant, you can't be forced to get up there and take the stand. They can't say, "We're calling, criminal defendant, the murderer, come to the stand, you must speak." They can't make you do that. Taking the fifth, Your Honor. Taking the fifth, Your Honor. And there are also times when you take the fifth in civil cases, but they're very limited times. It's by case, issue by issue. I don't think we've done a video on that, but it may be in my depositions video. If you haven't seen my depositions video, you're going to want to watch that. So that's another piece in the Fifth Amendment. And due process, that was also crammed in there. Did you see that? This is what Trump's arguing about right now. He's like, "Where's my due process? You just impeached me and I had no due process." Well, the question of due process is always what process is due. What process is due? Usually process is notice and an opportunity to be heard. It's Trump saying, "Wait, we haven't had an opportunity to be heard, blah, blah, blah." They're saying, "Yes, you did. We invited you. You didn't want to do it." So, this is the stuff they argue about, okay? So that's the due process clause right there in the Fifth. And this is anytime there's governmental action, people have a due process right. Another example, real estate agents, you get a real estate license. They can't just take it from you, okay? They have to go through a process, an accusation, a hearing, notice, opportunity to prevent. If you can't prove your case, you may lose your real estate license. Due process of law is in there. And finally, I just found this an interesting one, but this is also crammed in the Fifth Amendment, is nor shall take private property for public use without just compensation. Private property for public use without just compensation. Does anybody know what that's called? There's a specific name for this in real estate law. Taking private property for public use without just compensation. Anyone? Anyone? This is called the eminent domain clause. Eminent domain. So this comes up with real estate developers, okay? There's a beautiful chunk of property over there, and it's right on the corner, and the freeway's coming right by, and the developer goes, man, I want to develop a retail strip center of which they've never seen the likes. And problem is they can't get the land. Let's say a little old lady owns it. Little old lady. Yeah. So the developer wants it though. So the developer approaches the little old lady and says, look, I'm gonna give you $1 million for that land. And she says, nope, this is a family, this isn't the family forever. You're not getting it. And they say, well, we're gonna get it all right. I'm gonna go to my friends at city council and we're gonna get that land. We're gonna have them condemn the land. We're gonna have them acquire the land by eminent domain. Okay, so this raises constitutional issues. Can you do that? Has it happened? What? Ruth says, you betcha it's happened. You're right, Ruth. It has happened. And so there's cases on this. I'm not going to go into it. It's a fascinating area. If you ever want, I think I have a video on, I have a video on eminent domain if you want to go watch it. Google Attorney Steve eminent domain. But you can't take that property without just compensation. In reality, you can't take that property and give it to the developer. Okay? Has it happened? As Ruth just told me, yeah, it does happen. Okay? So that's the Fifth Amendment, lots of stuff. So these first 4 amendments, that's a lot of beef in there. The first 5. Sixth Amendment, most people wouldn't know probably about the Sixth Amendment, but it's criminal again. It addresses criminal issues. And the reason why we're such a great system is we protect our criminals. People go, what? Why do you mean you protect criminals? This is crazy. It's criminal rights. Why are we giving rights to the criminals? Well, because this is what protects you in case you're ever named for some God unknown reason. You didn't do it. It looks like you did it for God unknown reason. You have these rights, due process, right not to incriminate. Amendment 6. In all criminal prosecutions, the accused shall enjoy the right to a speedy and public trial by an impartial jury of the state and judicial and district wherein the crime shall have been committed, which district shall have been previously ascertained by law, and to be informed of the nature and cause of the accusation. Why am I being charged? You get that. It usually comes in the form of a complaint. To be confronted with the witnesses against him. Again, this is what Trump's going, hey, there's a whistleblower, I don't get to say anything? What? Who's the whistleblower? I should be able to confront and ask questions. To have compulsory process. This is subpoena power, so you can subpoena people and documents. And to have the assistance of counsel for his defense. This is, we lawyers, we love that. We go, yeah, they have the right to counsel. Do you hear that? What? Sixth Amendment to the Constitution, the right to counsel. And this is where you have the public defenders being appointed. This is part of your Miranda rights. If you cannot afford a lawyer, one will be appointed for you. They're talking about the Sixth Amendment, okay? So now you're tying see how you're tying these pieces together now? Learning a lot. When we talk about the Constitution, this is what we're talking about. Amendment 7. In suits at common law, where the value and controversy shall exceed $20, the right of a trial by jury shall be reserved, and no fact tried by a jury shall be otherwise re-examined in any court of the United States than according to the rules of the common law. Okay, so this is kind of a weird one. Again, your scholar friends, they won't know the Third Amendment. They won't know the Seventh Amendment. Give them a try. See, try them. This is great for your civics genius in the household. Okay. Well, can a jury be challenged or questioned on their verdict? That's usually where you have appeals. Usually people are going to appeal things like that. Internet privacy. Is there such a thing? Yeah, you need to be very careful on the internet. Internet is not the most private place in the world, even with your VPNs and other things. Number 7, suits of common law. You get a $20 a right to trial by jury. Well, again, 1770, $20 was probably like $20,000 today. So $20 you have a right to a jury trial. Okay, well nowadays we kind of call that small claims court, right? But I don't know. Again, I don't know how this plays out in real life, but it's kind of a weird one to me. But um, I know, Ruth. I said weird, but I still respect it. Okay. She wants to make sure I respect the Constitution. Ruth Bader Ginsburg, ladies and gentlemen, notorious RBG, Supreme Court Justice. All right, let's move on from that one. Eighth Amendment. This is probably the shortest of all. Excessive bail shall not be required, nor excessive fines imposed, nor cruel and unusual punishment inflicted. So again, this is another criminal law concept. Criminal law. Rights for the criminally accused, okay? Excessive bail. So this is where somebody, steals a car, and they come in for the arraignment. They said, I'm not guilty, and they want to get out on bail, right? The bail bonds place. So the judge says, well, I'm so mad. I'm going to set the bail at $2 million. You're going to be stuck in jail unless you can post a $2 million bond. And the person says, what? That's why I'm stealing cars. I don't have any money. So that's excessive bail, okay? So that could be a problem, a constitutional Eighth Amendment problem. Eighth Amendment is also cruel and unusual punishment, okay? Some people would argue and have argued that's the death penalty. You can't put people to death. States shouldn't be killing people because somebody else is killing people. This is cruel and unusual punishment, and that can be argued in a lot of different areas. Amendment 9, we are moving right along, cooking with gas, as we say. The enumeration in the Constitution of certain rights shall not be construed to deny or disparage others retained by people. Let's read that one again. This is the Ninth Amendment. Again, most people will not know your Ninth Amendment. So 3, 7, and 9, stump them all day long. Have some fun with that. The enumeration in the Constitution of certain rights shall not be construed to deny or disparage other rights retained. So in other words, to me, they're saying this book is not the end-all be-all. And it's not that as if it's not in here, it doesn't exist. They're not saying that. They're not saying that, okay? So that seems to me to be more of a clarification. Amendment 10, 10th Amendment. Anybody know what the 10th Amendment is? This used to be big, not as big as it used to be, not as big anymore, but there are a lot of people out there that still say, look, 10th Amendment is states' rights. That the Constitution talks about the powers and the limited powers of the federal government. Those powers that were not given to the government, the federal government, should be retained by the states, okay? The states have their own rights because we have 50 states and, the federal government oversees everything, but each state is individual. They should have their own rights. Why? There's different people living in different areas and different kinds of cliques and niches and all kinds of things. So Amendment 10 says the powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by the states, are reserved to the states respectively or to the people. So in other words, I'm not getting into the enumerated powers that you'll find in the main body of the Constitution. There are specific enumerated powers. If they're not in there, in theory, these are reserved to the states and the people. The states and the people, okay? It's very important. Comes up again. I don't deal with these cases every day, but it's very important to know that. This is great bar exam stuff, guys. These are things that can pop up. One guy's arguing the 10th Amendment applies, discuss the rights. And you go, what? 10th Amendment? Oh, geez. What was, just go back to this video. Amendment 11. The judicial power of the United States shall not be construed to extend to any suit in law or equity commenced or prosecuted against one of the United States by citizens of another state or by citizens or subjects of any foreign state. I don't even know what that means. I'm glad that was not tested on the bar. I'm going to skip that one. Another one to quiz your friends with. Yes, states' rights. Amendment 12, the electors shall meet in their respective states and vote by ballot for president and vice president, one of whom at least shall not be an inhabitant of the same state with themselves. They shall name in their ballots the person voted for as, well, this one's like super long. I'm not even going to read it because it's too long. How about that? How do you like that? When I was in law school, I'd have had to read this, know it. I'm going to skip it. Sometimes you just skip it. You go too much. So you read that one if you want, okay? I'm skipping Amendment 12. Go read it if you want. Report back. Thank you. Amendment 13. Oh, this is abolishing badges and incidents of slavery. 13. Neither slavery nor involuntary servitude except as a punishment for crime whereof the party shall have been duly convicted shall exist within the United States or any place within their jurisdiction. So this is a big civil rights amendment. So as I recall, so obviously there was a big blemish in the history of the United States and a great injustice that was done, and this amendment was designed to help eradicate that. Any badges and incidents. Badges and incidents of slavery is your buzzword. So if you see on your exam somebody's doing something based on race, something like that, attack it under the 13th Amendment. Civil rights, go for it. Number 14. This is the 14th Amendment. This is like super long too. All I'm going to say about the 14th Amendment is basically the 14th Amendment states that that the Constitution is applicable to the states, that these provisions are applicable to the states. That's all really in a nutshell. This other stuff, I just saved you a lot of time, okay? And so when you're on your bar exam, you say, if it's a state law issue, you say per the 14th Amendment, all the rights under the Constitution are incorporated and apply to citizens of the states. Bingo, you spotted the issue. You got your points, baby. All right, Amendment 15. The rights of citizens of the United States to vote shall not be denied or abridged by the United States on account of race, color, or previous condition. This is a voting rights, 15th Amendment, voting rights amendment. Everybody gets the right to vote. 16, the Congress shall have power to lay and collect taxes on income. Well, we already knew that from the Constitution itself. It was a right to levy taxes and tax and spend. The Congress shall have the power to lay and collect taxes on income from whatever source derived, without apportionment among the several states and without regard to census or enumeration. I don't know, that sounds like giving an amendment for, and this may be why it's outside the 10th Amendment Bill of Rights. It's more of a government bill of power is what that looks like to me. And I'm not sure why they needed that. It seemed they already had the power to tax, but who knows. Tax lawyers, let me know, please. Please chime in below. Amendment 17, we're getting there. Let's see. Senate of the United States shall be composed of 2 senators from each state, we know that. Elected thereof for a term of, how many? How long is a senator elected for? Anyone? 6 years. 6 years, and each senator shall have 1 vote. The electors in each state shall have the qualifications requisite for electors of the most numerous branch of the state legislators. When vacancies happen in the representation of any state in the Senate, the executive authority of such state shall issue writs of election to fill such vacancies. Okay, you guys get it. I know some of these I call the non-exciting amendments. I would call that a non-exciting. What? I didn't say not important. I said not exciting. Okay. I'm having some fun. I love Ruth Bader. I love Ruth Bader, a champion of women's rights. Let's see here. Amendment 18. I'm going to skip it because I don't like it. I'm going to skip it. It has to do with blah, blah, blah. Oh, no. 15, 16, 17. After 1 year from the ratification of this article, the manufacture, sale, or transportation of intoxicating liquors within the importation thereof into or the exportation from the United States is hereby prohibited. Prohibited. Wow. So this is where they, this was the, what do they call it? When they got rid of alcohol, the Prohibition. The Prohibition. You ever see any movies where they go underground into the speakeasy? Where speakeasy, you don't tell everybody you're going to go down and have a cocktail. This was prohibiting alcohol import and export. And don't ask me how they got around that, because of course now you can go get it anywhere, any restaurant, anywhere. But that was, oh, I see, yeah, repealed by the 21st Amendment. We're getting there. That's what happened. So this was actually repealed. They said, you know what? This could be a big business selling all this booze. Let's make it legal. 21st, we'll repeal this. That's what happened. See, even I learned from this. Sometimes it's nice to do a refresher course. Amendment 19, the rights of the citizens of the United States to vote shall not be denied or abridged by the United States on account of sex. On account of sex. Congress shall have power to enforce this. This was, I believe, giving the women the right to vote, and this was ratified in 1920. If you can believe that, if I have my facts right, don't quote me. Like I said, I'm not a scholar here. Pretty good student, pretty good scholar, but I believe this was the, what? What? Bruce says yes. She says that's right. That's right. It was hard fought for, she said. So that is the right to vote for women. And that was only 1920. Think about that. That's what, 80, that's 100 years ago. 100 years, almost 100 years ago. August 18th next year, there's probably going to be a little celebration of that. So be aware, put that on your calendar. Amendment 20 was modified in addition, terms of the vice president, things like that. Those are what called boring amendment. Not to say it's not important. I'm not going to go into that. 2021, this repealed the alcohol prohibition. And that was probably a pretty big celebration that day. What do you think? Amendment 22. No person shall be elected to the office of president more than twice. So this is kind of a term limit. President can only be president twice. And no person who has held the office of president or acted as president for more than 2 years or of a term to which some other person was elected president shall be elected to the office of president more than once. But this article shall not apply to any person holding the office of president when this article was proposed by Congress, and shall not prevent any person who may be holding the office of president or acting as president during the term within which the article becomes operative for the holding of the office. Isn't that fun stuff? What does that mean? I don't know. I'd have to read it 5 times. Okay. Number 23. The district constituting the seat of government shall appoint Congress. There's another one. I'm going to skip it. I don't like it. 23. I like it. I like it. I'm just going to move over it. Number 24. Rights of citizens, vice president, electors. Skip over. 25. In the case of removal of president from his office or death or resignation, the vice president shall become president. So this one's kind of succession. Amendment 25. And this is where, like, if Trump was impeached, the vice president would become the vice president. Michael Pence would then become the president. And if Michael Pence got so excited, he goes, "Oh my God, I'm president!" For some, and again, I'm not wishing this would happen on anybody. If it happened, Nancy Pelosi then becomes the president. So that's how it works. So that's that. Not too particularly exciting to me, but important. Amendment 26, we're just about there. The rights of the citizens of the United States who are 18 years or older to vote shall not be abridged. So this gave 18-year-olds in 1971, so what's that, 30, 29, 39, 49, about 50 years ago, 18-year-olds got the right to vote, but they didn't have that prior to that. So you see how the voting rights have been, spread out over time. So there you have that. And the very last one, 27, Amendment 27 of the United States Constitution. This is it, folks. If you're with me now, you might as well hear the last one. Thank you for staying this long. Don't forget to subscribe and tell other people about this channel. Not too many attorneys spend their Saturday. I'm in my music room. I got guitars. I could be playing my guitar, but I'm in here helping you guys learn a little bit more, okay? Last one. No law varying the compensation for the services of senators and representatives shall take effect until an election of representatives shall have intervened. I don't know. What does that mean? I don't know. What senators, representatives get paid, I don't know. Lots of money and pensions and great health benefits and a lot of good things. So folks, this is the Constitution of the United States, and I just got this, and you can see gold plate, and you can see why I'm excited about it. It's a beautiful book. It looks great. It feels great. It's going to go on my counter for when I need to look into this. But with that, I want to just say thank you all for watching. This has been another just great video. I'm glad you all, I hope that you guys give me some likes. That's what the world's all about now. This is the new currency now, by the way, the thumb, the like button. The power to like something, subscribe, and share it, okay? So I got to run. I hope that's been good. I'll go through your questions. If there's something that I can answer or link you to, I will do that. I will probably post a few other videos in my description area, so check that out. Some things that might also be helpful for you guys. But I want to thank you again for watching. Go have a great Saturday. You did your scholarly part. Now go out and have fun, shake some hands, meet some people, and enjoy this great gift of life. Okay, I got to run. Bye now.